Should be able to.
I should, yeah, I can. Promote to panelist, okay. Bob, I promoted.
Once we let Laura in, then she can, how come Bob couldn't?
All right, Bob's in.
Once we let Laura in, then it's-
Okay, are we ready to call the meeting to order? Good evening, everybody. I'm gonna call the special meeting to order. I'll start with roll call. Trustee Andrade Zuniga,
Here.
Trustee Land, President, Trustees Lees Dwyer,
Here.
Trustee Hanley,
Yes.
and I am here. We have all 5 board members. I am going to ask, it's not listed, but we're going to do it. I'm going to ask the superintendent to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
You go back. I'm just backing up so we can see the flag here. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Superintendent. In closed session, no actions were taken. I'd like to welcome Mr. Montaldo, who is our interpreter tonight. And Mr. Montaldo, if you would press your magic button so you switch over and make your announcement first, I think. Huh?
Absolutely. Buenas tardes. Si ustedes están escuchando esta presentación es porque están asistiendo a la reunión del directorio del Distrito Escolar Unificado de San Mateo. Este es el canal de español a través del cual podrán escuchar las diferentes presentaciones de hoy. Gracias.
Okay, the button is on. We're in dual mode, and we're going to move on to, there are no public comments, no board comments. So we're going to move on to E1, approval of the, actually, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there anybody wish to remove anything, or is there a motion?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Trustee Hanley, second by Trustee Land. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Land,
Yes.
Trustee Lees Dwyer,
Yes.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
Yes, and the motion passes 5-0. And we'll move on to, that was E1, E2. We'll move on to F, Division of Human Resources. F1.
Thank you. We have 2 recognitions tonight. Allison Gamlin, drama teacher at Hillsdale High School, has resigned on effective July 7th after 13 years in the district. And Carrie Velez, a bus driver, instructor, transportation coordinator, CSCA president, submitted her retirement effective at the end of the day, August 5th. She was with the district for 15 years and 4 months.
Okay, does anybody wish to make a motion on personnel actions?
I make a motion to approve the actions, the personnel action.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Land, and I believe it was a second by Trustees. I didn't see, who was that? Andrade Zuniga?
Yes.
I have to be retrained after missing 3 weeks or a month. Okay, Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Trustee Land,
Yes.
Trustees Lees Dwyer,
Yes.
Trustee Hanley,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. The motion will pass 5-0. F2.
Yes, the revision to the health service manager job description. The board approved the health services manager job description last spring. The AFSCME unit and the district negotiated a work year and a salary comparable to jobs with similar responsibilities. That was equal to 215 work days and a placement on level 4 of the AFSCME salary schedule. And we seek approval on this.
Are there any questions by the board, or is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Trustee Hanley makes.
I'll second that.
Trustee Land will make the second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga,
I vote yes.
Trustee Land,
Yes.
Trustees Lees Dwyer,
Yes.
Trustee Hanley,
Yes.
Yes, and that motion on F2 passes 5-0. G1, special reports, the school opening presentation.
Thank you very much, President Griffin. First, I want to thank the board for having this special meeting. When we built the calendar at the beginning of the year, we didn't have a meeting before. If you remember, we talked about this in June, that it would make some sense to have a meeting prior to the start of school, given the experiences that we've been going through since the start of the pandemic. I am really thankful for the work of the presenters tonight. We anticipated a lot of things happening between the last board meeting and tonight, and a lot of things have happened. I think staff is ready for the start of the school year. We're proud of the work that we're doing here. There's more things that we need to do, but the excitement on the campus is building. You're going to hear a lot about sort of our plans and what we have in place. I think we have a safe plan for the school. The excitement on the campuses is building. As I went around to all the schools today, people are just really fired up to be back in person and with students. And so tonight, I don't think we certainly won't capture all that excitement and energy, but we will provide you with some quality information about what's going on here. So I think Dr. Black, you have you kick us off here, and I think maybe Don, you're the ninth batter, and that's not a reflection of you in any way. But let's start it up there. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Black.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight's presentation will provide information with the opening of the schools next week. Presenting with me will be Sarah Devaney, our Health Services Manager, Don Skatena, our Director of Student Services, and Julia Kempke, Assistant Superintendent of Instruction. Next slide, please. The first part of the presentation will summarize the health and safety guidelines and protocols in which the district will implement or continue this year. We will provide the vaccination percentages of the staff and students as we know it. We will convey our COVID testing strategy, and then we will review the new student-centered legislative acts that require district action. Next slide, please. At the top of this slide are links to specific K-12 school guidance, and the district is following the CDC, the California Department of Public Health, and the San Mateo County Office of Education guidelines for safe schools. All of these plans have extensive instructions in terms of addressing the pandemic, and we're in compliance with them. To summarize, the main objective is to ensure that all students have access to safe but in-person instruction. And as you know, we have a new bell schedule this year, and our instructional minutes are back to where they were 2 years ago before the pandemic. The district has encouraged families and staff to get vaccinated for many months now through a variety of sources. We are scheduling on-campus vaccination clinics sponsored by the county during the month of August and probably September for students, families, and staff. If necessary, the contact tracing procedures that we implemented last year will continue. We've conveyed the importance of seating charts and other documents, so that will help to make this process easier. Again, if needed, targeted quarantine practices will follow the contact tracing as required by the county. The quarantine requirements differ this year depending on the vaccination status of the individuals involved. Next slide. The district has secured different sources for COVID-19 testing. All unvaccinated students and staff will be offered testing once or twice a week. And we assume that the numbers of the students and teachers who are unvaccinated will decrease as we get going and we offer these vaccination clinics. This year, we continue our work with Dr. Lukemeyer and Dr. Sunil. We're arranging meetings with them starting next week, and they're going to help us on the process for random testing of subsets of all staff and students to help us gauge our success this year with the fighting the pandemic, or fighting the COVID-19, and our progress with vaccinations. This year, we will continue to require mask wearing indoors. The one difference this year is that the guidance does not require minimal physical distancing. Therefore, we're going to be able to utilize our instructional spaces to accommodate our full student enrollment, and staff will not be restricted in their movements while they're teaching. As always, but much more important now, staff and students are not allowed to attend school if they are experiencing any COVID-like symptoms or symptoms of illness in general. If staff or students are experiencing symptoms, they'll need to report the reasons, students to the attendance office, and staff will indicate this on the LiveSafe app. Also, on an individual basis, additional personal protective equipment is available, and the interactive process is available to all employees as needed. Next slide, please. Instructional Spaces will continue to utilize the MERV 13 filters with the goal of meeting or exceeding the recommended air quality requirements. We're in a very good position with our filters and air filtration. The enhanced COVID-19 cleaning and disinfecting procedures implemented last year will continue for the most part this year, and will be increased if required if the situation changes. In general, non-essential visitors and volunteers will not be allowed on campus for safety reasons. Next slide, please. Okay, so for communication, we are sharing and will continue to share health and safety information in a variety of ways and venues. This slide here has a sample of an e-flyer for Peninsula, but we have one for each site. And these are targeted for specifically for families and students for the most part, this flyer here. And it's an overview of different resources, both in the wording and through embedded links. For example, this flyer goes into the procedure for reporting an absence, how to access the school calendar and bell schedule, accessing health office staff if there's any inquiries, and then our vaccination clinic information once they're scheduled. In terms of staff training, the district will provide all staff with training on August 11th, next Wednesday, and this training will be recorded for those for future access and for reference. Additionally, next week, the district is providing a town hall for families that is scheduled for Monday at 6:30, followed by one in Spanish on Tuesday at 6:30. And we'll be going over all of our procedures and protocols and what we look forward to in the new year. Okay, our next presenter will be Sarah Devaney, Health Services Manager, to provide further details. Next slide, please.
Everyone, happy to be here. So we talked a little bit about the general guidelines that we received from all over, from the federal guidance to the state guidance, and then all the way down to the county. So these are some of our safety protocols we're putting into place here. Dr. Black spoke about most of these, but want to make sure in general we are reviewing them, and then this is what we are putting in place here. So again, masks regardless of vaccination status. He identified the physical distancing that's removed, our ventilation recommendations that we're meeting or exceeding. Cleaning we talked about, food services, maximizing that space, especially while eating indoors, but we're going to try and encourage all of that to happen outdoors. Testing, I want to mention, we have another slide on that as well, but we are doing some great work and really excited to share some of that. And then whenever and all possible, we're going to do some events outside. Next slide, please. The other thing I want to mention is the guidance this year is different from last year, and a lot of that is based on the evidence and data that we've learned over the last 18 to 20 months. So I want to make sure that we're adjusting when there is new evidence and data that we have. So universal masking, masks are one of the most effective and simplest layers of mitigation. So we're going to make sure that we're supporting our staff and students to achieving this. So masking indoors, it allows for minimal physical distancing. And then remember the distancing was in place to prevent that droplet transmission in COVID. We know that the transmission can happen primarily through aerosol or airborne. And so masking is effective for both of those transmissions, both aerosol and droplet. Although it's not required outdoors, we are going to encourage, and those who feel comfortable will continue to mask outdoors, as we're seeing now on some campuses. Next slide, please. I think we all are aware also that there's a mandate in the county. And so although the guidance was specific to schools, we also are now following the mandate in the county and will adjust based on any new mandates or health orders that come out. Just a quick reminder here on how we properly would be wearing our face covering. We'll continue to ensure that there is signage currently on all doors entering or exiting the buildings on all of the campuses. And then we'll just make sure that we are also sharing with students, reminding with students and staff the best and proper way to wear a mask. And then the differences between the types of masks. We are not going to be encouraging gaiters. We will be encouraging the 2-3 ply or double masking. All right, next slide. So the California Department of Public Health shared, I think mid-July, their testing strategy. It's linked here for you to take a look at. It's really in-depth and really interesting, many considerations in terms of testing and questions to ask, as well as what's going on in the community transmission and how our testing strategy can change or adjust based on what's happening in the community. So we're currently partnering and we've onboarded the California Rapid Antigen Testing. There are about 4 to 5 options through the program. We're currently focusing on the antigen testing, which allows self-administered testing on site. They also have an at-home antigen testing program, and we are currently exploring and hoping to onboard that soon. That will allow for some of those students we've talked about, our staff, who are required to stay home because they're ill. You'll be able to, if they have symptoms, test from home, and if they get a negative test, be able to come in. So it's really minimizing missed school days, and that's one of our goals. So if we have a positive antigen rapid test, which they're immediate results within 15 to 20 minutes, if there's a positive test, it's followed up by a PCR test. So then that just to confirm, once you have an antigen, you have to, if you get a positive, you have to confirm with the PCR. And again, it's a Binax. Now you may be familiar with this. I think airlines are using this. It's at CVS and Walgreens over the counter. It comes in a box of 2, really simple and easy to use. We're excited to share this with our district this year. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Black.
Thank you, Ms. Devaney. During student registration and data confirmation, the district asked all families to state whether their students are vaccinated or not. At this point, with 7,290 responses, we're averaging just under 84% of students being fully vaccinated. As stated earlier, there will be vaccination clinics on campuses, and the first ones will be at the schools with the lowest percentages, and these will be available to students, families, and staff throughout August and probably into September based on need. Next slide, please. Okay, so this picture demonstrates Dr. Skelly is joining Dr. Fauci in advocating for vaccinations. Currently, we are collecting staff responses to a verification request that we sent out yesterday. So currently, out of the responses, we have 656 that have stated they have been vaccinated. And the percentage of the opened emails and those that have indicated they are vaccinated out of the opened emails, we're running about 91%. So a little over 91% of the staff being vaccinated. Again, we expect to get the complete response, once everyone returns to school. Not all of our classified are back and working at this point. Okay, the next slide will be presented by Don Skatena, Director of Student Services.
Thank you, Dr. Black. Last February, we established capacity and staffing based on very conservative models from our data pull and our roll-up, and from Decision Insight company that we do our projections with. And so we established our staffing and capacity based on those conservative models. As of July 30th, you could see what our current enrollment for the sites are. This includes all the transfers that have been approved and that we did through the lottery and through spacing. Secondly, you could see that normally in a normal year, these numbers would probably be over. When we do staffing, we usually can have, for example, let's say Aragon High School could probably safely have 1,775, 1,780 students with staffing of 1,750, because it factors in many things, such as independent study, factors in possible transfers to maybe Peninsula, it factors in the ebb and flow of enrollment and withdrawals for people moving. So as you can see from our capacity, we're about 70 students short of our staffing setup. So we have plenty of growth available for students who come to enroll. We have a very late enrollment cycle that's going on. I could say it's unlike most summers I've experienced. And it's a lot of families arriving late for enrollment and new families in the area. But we are seeing that students have relocated out of the area, and that data is coming in slowly with withdrawals. And I would say that at this point, we would be good if we got 1-to-1, meaning every new family, there's a withdrawal between now and the start of school and just after school. So we'll continue to monitor this, but it is important information to track as we go through the enrollment process. Next slide. So this past summer, every summer for the last several years, we would have a senior summer school. Senior summer school would, for students who did not graduate or meet our graduation requirements, we would have a senior summer school that would range from about 18 to 25 students over the past 5 years on average. About 80 to 90% of those students would complete their graduation requirements as long as they were within 3 courses of graduating and meeting our district expectations for a diploma. This past summer, we had about twice that number participate in summer school for seniors who did not graduate, and 42 out of the 50 did meet the high school, our expectations for our diploma, 220 credits. And so that's quite a good number considering. So we actually are on the same percentage that we normally would do. A lot of work went into this. Special thanks to Aiko Show for her work working with these students. It's done in an independent study, sort of asynchronous environment where a lot of the teacher's time is spent actually coordinating, talking to the student, keeping them motivated, doing things like mindfulness, but also being flexible, knowing that students are working during the summer, even though they're still trying to meet the graduation requirements for the district. Next slide. As you know, in July, state of California and the governor approved Assembly Bill 104. Assembly Bill 104 had 4 main components: retention, being able to repeat a grade level, the process for that. Second part was the ability to change grades from any grade on the transcript to a pass, no pass. I think you've seen articles in San Francisco Chronicle and other areas. And then the last part was that a student could graduate if they were a senior in the class of 2021, or they are a rising senior for the class of 22. So this year's seniors that we have coming on campus next week. They can meet the graduation requirements as long of the state local graduation requirements. Now, students, it's important to note that students know the difference between the graduation requirements for the state and also the graduation requirements for our district. Our local graduation requirements are much higher. Expectations much higher, is about 90 more credits that we expect. The state requirements are about 130 credits. This is something similar that we have always done with various assembly bills to protect different student groups, such as foster youth, incarcerated youth, homeless students, and unaccompanied minors, to name a few. So there are some requirements for Assembly Bill 104. We have to post it on our website. We have to inform the families, and we've done that. In addition, we need to inform the students who, especially our seniors from 2021, we need to inform them that they did graduate based on the use of Assembly Bill 104, or if they didn't graduate, we need to inform them of the classes they need to take in order to graduate, because they would have basically the rest of the year, this 21-22 school year, to meet these graduation requirements. There's a variety of different ways we're allowing students to do that. They could do it through adult school. They could do it through the community college. They could do it through online schools. They could also re-enroll back into the district and complete these graduation requirements. So those letters are set to go out early next week to our 2021 seniors who did not graduate. There's about 149 in total before summer school started. And as you saw, we had 42 of the 50 graduate from the summer school, meeting our district expectations. Within those numbers, there's some interesting things. 24 of the 149 met Assembly Bill 104 and will be graduates. 59 of the 149 are students with IEPs, and 55 of the 149 are ELD students. 99 out of 149 were already students approved before the Assembly Bill 104 was passed, were already approved for a fifth year. So they're already approved because they're a student with an IEP, or because they are fifth year ELD students. Following, as long as students were doing well and progressing toward graduation, they would be offered a fifth year per our policy. Finally, 30 of the 149 students had met the Assembly Bill 104 and were already approved for fifth years, because in Assembly Bill 104, it does permit them to come back for a fifth year, but we already had approved them. As for the class of 22, we will be progress monitoring with our counselors and our administrative staff at the sites to monitor this throughout the year. Expectation is that students meet our graduation requirements for the district. And so we'll be monitoring that, and there is a process set in place, but the students cannot use this to graduate early. So you cannot meet 130 credits and graduate, let's say, by the holiday break. That is not the case. They do need to finish the entire year. Next slide. Another part of Assembly Bill 104 is the ability to request for repeat the grade level retention. And so we had to explain the process to our families. We also had to give them the ability to make a request. We have a form that allows for them to make the request, and within 30 days, we need to have a meeting for retention. That meeting would consist of myself meeting with the family, with a counselor or administrator present. If it's a student with an IEP, their case manager would be present also. And we would, the goal is to go over all the various options that a family has prior to repeating the grade level. In the end, if all things don't work out, or the family and student really believe that it's in their best interest to repeat in a grade level, we would do that at that point. We have to inform the family of our decision within 10 days. I will share that as an example, I've had one of these meetings already. The family requested for their child to repeat a grade level. And it was interesting that this next part of the policy, the final part I'll share about grade changes, was a better option for them because they were concerned about college eligibility. And the changing the grade to a no pass really helped and was a better strategy for them for college eligibility. So next slide. So grade change is the one part of the Assembly bill. It has a timeline on it where families need to make these requests by August 16th. We've already posted, we needed to post on our website by July 30th. So it is on our website. And basically any grade during the 2021 school year could be changed to a pass or no pass. So any A, B, C, or D can be changed to a pass and any F changed to a no pass. Why is that critical? Is because it doesn't affect that pass, no pass would not affect their GPA. So in theory, a student who had let's say, was a 3.0 student with 2 Ds on their transcript, by converting the 2 Ds into no pass, basically their GPA would go up on the transcript for the 2021 school year. And there's an application that is available to families. This is all done internally through the school sites. The request happens, the school administrator designee approves it, and it goes to the data analyst who changes it on the transcript. Next slide. The other Assembly bill that was passed recently was Assembly Bill 130, and that is about providing an option for families, especially families who were concerned about the health and safety of their child and being on campus. Luckily, in general, I've managed independent study since I've been in this role, probably 9 of the past 10 years for the district. We've always had the best practice in the process. Nothing really was new in the Assembly bill. This was mostly meant for K-8 districts or districts that didn't have a well thought out independent study program. But there were some new wrinkles to the Assembly Bill 130. Couple examples would be that there's a time, needs to be outline support. We have support available, but it needs to be sort of identified prior to admission into the program, into the independent study program. Secondly, a family has the ability to request to return to the classroom, and once we receive that request, we have to meet their request within 5 school days. And so that's somewhat unique because in the past, under my leadership, we would wait until the end of a grading period. So that could be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. We'd wait until the end of the grading period and then transition the student back because it would be a more natural transition back to the classroom. But we will follow the Assembly bill and the timelines that are outlined here. And so that's it for independent study. A couple obvious things is a student with an IEP, it would have to be the IEP team making recommendation for independent study, but this is an option. In the past, it would have to be approved, but this is an option for all families who opt in. We're using Edgenuity, where we have a full-time teacher who has a lot of experience with the program, and we're utilizing graders and tutors from Edgenuity to assist our students in each one of the course content areas. Next slide.
So I think it's about like, before I go on, I do want to mention that one of the questions the board might have is how many students are choosing independent study as opposed to coming back on campus. And Don, I think you have a little bit of those numbers. Is that correct?
Yeah, as of this morning, we had 18 students who, as a district, have opted into independent study. That number will definitely increase between now and let's say October 1st. And it will increase as we get closer to the start of school. But that is not, that's pretty much an average number for us in any given year for independent study. Actually, it might even be on the low side from how we started some years. Independent study students will also be able to utilize and take advantage of the community college course offering. So it's not just Edgenuity. They could take through eCollege, they could take college classes, because about 50%, maybe 2/3 of the college course catalog from our community college district is going to be online. So we are encouraging students to do that and being on independent study.
So I want to thank all the folks that have spoken here, and as well as Dr. Kempke and Mr. Simmons for all their work on this. This has been a lot to put forth, and the AB 104 and 130 were another wrinkle, but I think we're really doing our community right and getting these properly done. I'll just mention that this week we had the new teacher orientation this week. Student orientations started this week. We'll continue next week. We're having orientations for 9th graders, and we're having orientations for 10th graders, because many of those students haven't been in person, getting photos taken, distributing laptops. There's just a whole bunch of work going on campuses to get ready for the year, as well as being cognizant of these things. So hats off to all of everybody who's doing work. We're getting ready to launch the year-long professional learning on racial equity. Mr. Griffin and I will be kicking things off on Monday morning. He is the president of the board, and I, as the superintendent, we've got our questions, and we're looking forward to at least beginning that work and that launching. And I think it'll be really helpful. I think if you're in the education business, you ought to be in the learning business. And so I think it certainly is important that we do that work. Some of that work was kicked off on the administrative retreat that was held a week ago today at Curiosity over in Coyote Point. We really enjoyed getting the administrators together. Ms. Aquino here got to see many of the leaders in the district in person for the first time. And we had a district office meeting on Tuesday morning, and it was great to see folks. And once again, people met each other outside of Zoom and commented on how much better they looked in real life. We'll have all staff beginning that work on Monday. It'll be a full day. And then we'll have other professional developments and a teacher work day on Wednesday. And then we're fired up to get kids in here and start learning, have learning time starting August 12th. So it's an exciting time. We're really looking forward to the year, and we're happy to give this report and answer any questions that you might have. I will make one other comment on August 12th. The board had discussed the possibility of having in-person board meetings starting on August 12th. I've just been informed by our tech crew that we have some of the equipment that would enable us to do that with high quality. Is still on order. Possible reasons are the chip shortage and various other pieces. So we're not going to be able to go in person on the 12th, and I'll update you on whether or not the 26th is a possibility. So I think that concludes my comments, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Does the board have any questions? First off, Ms. Chalkley, were you able to identify any public comments?
I have not had any requests for public comment.
Okay. Does the board wish to discuss this item? Who has a question? Oh, Greg, you got your hand up.
Actually, it's not a question. It's more like a few comments and observations. So thank you all for the presentation. I really appreciate that. And Dr. Skelly anticipated my question about how many are independent study. So thank you for that too. Sarah, thank you. I think the random testing, I think the vaccinations, I think we have a lot in place. I just wanted to ask a question about masks. Are we providing every classroom with additional masks so that it can be provided to students who break theirs or something's missing or that sort of thing? Is that going to be available for PPE?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then Dawn, great job. Thank you for giving the comprehensive view of what's happening in the district. It looks like, and with the vaccinations, it looks like we have a high percentage, and that is a really good sign. I hope that improves as we go. I just think it was a very well done presentation. I think we have a really comprehensive view, knowing that we're heading into the school year with not having to worry about social distancing, having things back to normal in the new normal. We're going to have to get used to this, but I'm really glad that our students are going to be able to come back in some sort of comprehensive way. And I just really want to thank the district for all the work. So thank you very much. I would like to see us, I am going to emphasize that I think as a board, we need to come back. We need to be role models for our students and come back. So I would really like us to come back on the 12th. I'd like to be there if possible. If we want to do it on the 26th, that's fine. But I think we need to show that we are supportive of this happening and doing the proper protocols. I think it's important that we come back. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just waiting for you to say something. I just want to say how great it was to see all the new teachers on Monday, or I think it was Monday, right? Virtually, and to welcome everybody. Thank you for the presentation today. I have some questions around the vaccinations. Is there a campaign to get the students that are not vaccinated to become vaccinated? I know there's some legislation going through some of the states for students that want to be vaccinated but are not being allowed by their parents and things like that to go through, so students can actually get vaccinated without, I guess, consent, if there's any talk about that, but also how are students being encouraged that are not vaccinated?
Ms. Devaney, I'll let you answer that question.
Okay. We started this work, I think, as soon as there was initial approval for this age group. So we did several vaccine clinics with directed and targeted outreach over the summer. That continues now with the help of student services and the data confirmation. We hold students, not only are they vaccinated, but are they interested in learning about opportunities. So we have those lists. We've divided them by school site. The health aides are starting this week to do phone calls and outreach to encourage and support and find out, what are the barriers. And then again, we have 3 clinics set up for August, and then we're going to begin our work for September, setting up additional clinics as well. Hope that answers your question.
Great, thank you. And what about DTech enrollment and I guess the vaccinations there? I didn't see DTech on the list. Will that come later?
I think that's under non-public schools. Is that right?
Yep. We can get the information in a weekly. We typically don't report out there on theirs, but I know that they're making similar efforts, and we've included them in some of our information out about vaccination opportunities.
Great, thank you. And I'm really pleased to see that there's still going to be vaccinations on site. I think that's important. People trust the schools and they're accessible. So I'm glad that's going to continue. I actually, for the board to be in person, I'm actually going to opt out because I am concerned about the variant, and I am concerned about people who are not vaccinated. I think that we're not completely out of the woods yet. So yeah, I think I'm glad to see though that there are alternatives for students as well that are not completely healthy to be able to be in the general population and have an option for independent studies. So I just hope that there are other options for people that are either concerned, even teachers, and also that cannot be in person if they can't be vaccinated or whatever. I just hope that there's options for people. So thank you.
Questions?
I want to add just, you always forget about things you should have mentioned. And I know Ms. Lees-Dwyer has comments. I think we can, to your point, Mr. Lannon, certainly have some board members here and we can room and Zoom. That is something that we have some experience in the district doing. The other part I forgot to mention is that we will be having a town hall on Monday night that involves that we publicized to the whole district. And then we'll have another town hall on Tuesday night for our Spanish-speaking families. There's a conflict on the 9th, so we decided to have a separate one on the 10th too. So if you would like to attend those, it's on the website there.
Please, Dwyer, you know, your hand blended in with your background.
I noticed that my hand looked like just another picture on the wall.
Yeah.
So I'll have to, maybe I don't know, I'll change the color of the hand or something. Okay, first I want to say something to Sarah Devaney. Ms. Devaney, you had such a year last year. I don't know when you slept. I mean, you were 24/7, and I hope that you understand how appreciated you are, number one. But I hope that this year, because of all the work you did, you can kind of go, I got that done. That's ready. We can do this. I really hope that COVID, becomes a memory, and that you will have less work this year, actually. And you've gotten so many people trained and so much done. So I think that this should be a year where you get to oversee things more than you have to do so much running around and so much hands-on work. So I just want to commend you for everything you've done to prepare us for the reopening of school. So here's to Ms. Devaney. A little clapping. Amazing, just amazing. I always look forward to hearing from you because it's always so positive, and that's amazing too, given everything you've been trying to do. Mr. Skatena, the same kind of goes for you. You've really kept both your oars in the water, and look at all the students that are back, and look at what you've accomplished with just so many duties that you have to sort out so many things. And knowing that we were ahead of the AB 104, that's nice to know. That means that our leadership has been ahead of things, has looked at things globally, big picture, and gotten them done for students. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that, because your leadership matters to so many people and to so many students. So I want to thank you for that. And it was a very good presentation. Oh, no, yeah, more clapping. Now that I have three hands. And as far as coming back, I think that Ms. Zuniga is making the best choice, because it isn't totally safe yet. And you have to be careful. And not everyone is shot. And hopefully it will happen, and we'll see more and more, and our making it available should really help that too. But I am fine with, however we do it, that we blend it in a way that will allow us to reach as many people as possible, because a lot of people have been attending our meetings through Zoom and then through YouTube. And I want that to continue for them, because they are the people we're elected to serve. And I want them to know, and they're our employees and they're students and people who care. So I really want them to be able to participate. I ran into a student getting my haircut on Saturday. And he was getting his haircut, and he looked at me, I'm waiting, and he says, "Are you Linda Lees Dwyer from the school board?" And I went, "Yes," thinking, oh no, what did I do? And he thanked me for about the pride flag. And he was so thrilled that it got done, and then it flew, and it meant so much to him. He's with his mother, and they're standing in supercuts, and he's telling me what it meant to him. And I just stood there and kind of in awe of this kid who was so happy about something so simple. And something so basic. So that was like a really good moment, and it made me appreciate who our students are and what they care about and want me to do more. So anyway, thank you for that.
Thank you. Trustee Hanley, you have anything you want to add to the conversation?
I just wanted to ask, you didn't really touch on athletic programs. As far as we know, are the athletic programs and some of the extracurricular things just going to go forward Are they going to go forward as far as we know at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
You know, the Daily Journal had been saying that as, you know, their daily, you know, their sports thing, which I look forward to reading, and they were talking about the ADs and everybody just full speed ahead. So what we didn't hear in all of that is the other extracurricular activities. So, you know, it was a good presentation with a lot of energy. So I think we all look forward to the thing, and, you know, to the extent, and this is a personal decision, and I think everybody needs to take personal responsibility where we are today. You know, when we were talking about having board meetings, I think there's a great desire to get back, but like everything else, the logistics of it are really complex, and it's not as easy as one would think. But I know we're trying to work on that. You know, in terms of attendance and spacing and what your spacing is, and what, you know, the various things that what's adequate for you may not be for another person. So Trustee Land, you got your hand up.
I just want to say, no, I really respect what Lihia is saying and what Linda is saying about, we do need to look at, you know, the new normal, which is, it should be a hybrid. Like, we should have online like this and still have people be able to come in from Zoom and also be in person. And I think that's what I kind of wanted to represent. I didn't want to say that shouldn't be an option. I totally agree with you on that. And so, but what I was trying to tell Dr. Skelly was, we still need to try to prepare for those who do want to be in person, and that we want to show that that's a possibility as well. So I think both are important. I think we learn, so we don't go back to the way it was, we evolve and we kind of synthesize everything together. And I think that's what I was trying to say. So I'm glad Linda and Lihia said what they did. So I totally support that.
Any other comments on this item? Okay, we have anything else to say?
We'll be back next week. We have a board meeting on the 12th. And one of the things we'll go over is the district goals. As we've been doing that work, we're going to focus on the LCAP goals that we've already established. As we've talked as a district team, administrators, you know, we know that the goal number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are to get kids back on campus and do it in a safe way. That's you know, that everything else pales in comparison. And then as we think about themes for the year, what we've been talking about is building community back on our campuses, working on managing change, because as you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of change here. And then the third part is promoting equity. So those are the big themes as we go through the year. I think you've seen that in the work that staff has been doing so far, and I think you'll see that as we go forward. So we look forward to seeing you next Thursday night, and then 2 weeks after that. So I think this closes the open agenda, and I think we're going back into closed session after this.
After this, within 5 minutes, or after this?
I think it's at 8:30 as we scheduled.
No, why wait till 8:30?
Right.
Okay, I'll see if those who need to join us can be there earlier. So why don't I send a text to see if folks are available, and let's try to start at 8:10.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Recessed.